There's a very fine line between drawing inspiration from your heritage and being stuck in the past, and I feel like Hermes is really struggling this season. Hi guys, my name is G.P.S. and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought that I would do a what's new from Hermes video, as it's been almost, I think, a full season since the last one I did. And to be honest, Hermes has had quite a slow and boring few months, understandably so. But by now, as we're going into full winter, they usually have a couple of new things out. So I thought that I would compile everything new that we can expect to see from Hermes in the coming weeks. And some of these things are actually already out in stores. So if you want to find out what you can expect to see in Hermes boutiques in the coming weeks, as well as my thoughts on the HAC, then please keep on watching. If you've seen my previous What's New from Hermes videos, you have probably heard me say that Hermes is extremely slow when it comes to new launches, but it's usually worth the wait. However, we have not seen any of the bags that walk down the full winter 2020 runway, which, by the way, I have an entire video on, which I'll make sure to link up here. If you want to find out what new bags Hermes was supposed to launch for fall winter 2020 and my thoughts on them, then make sure to go ahead and watch that video after this. I'll link it up here as well as in the info box. But we have no updates on any one of those bags, which is not unheard of. Hermes can definitely take their time with new launches. They often release bags 6 months to maybe even a year after they were supposed to. But we don't have any updates on those. Other than one of them, we do have the official name for one of the bags that I talked about, which was actually my personal favorite, and I kept referring to it as the stirrup bag because it does feature this kind of stirrup detail on the front of the bag, which I assume will function as the fastening of the bag. And it remains to be my personal favorite, and I'm really excited to get some more information on it. But right now, the only thing that we know is that it's going to be called the Della Cavaliera bag, which is a name that Hermes has actually used in the past. Not even that long ago. I think it was only a few years ago that Hermes had a silk print with the same name that had the same sort of equestrian inspiration. So they're using the same name again, which is something that Hermes does quite often. That's all we know right now, but as soon as I have more information on the new Della Cavaliera bag or any of the other bags that we talked about in that video, you guys will be the first to know. But let's move on to some things that we have a little bit more information on. And I'm going to start with the only SLG in this video, which is actually already available. So if you absolutely love this, you can go to the stores and pick it up right now. But the first piece that I wanted to talk about is the Paddock coin purse, or perhaps card holder, which is this kind of really fun SLG. It's literally an SLG, a small leather good, because it can function as so many different things. It's essentially this horse head inspired, as I mentioned, coin purse or card holder or little wallet or catch-all for your bags that you can use for whatever you want to. The main difference with this compared to some other Hermes SLGs is the fact that it does feature actual card holders on the inside. So if you want to use it as a card holder, you don't just have to slide your cards in there. You will actually have a place on the inside that is meant for your cards, and you can use the rest of the space for coins or keys or cash or whatever you want to use it for. I don't know how I personally feel about it. I'm quite surprised that this is a piece from the core Hermes line. I think it would have been a much better fit for the Petite H or the Petite H line, which is a more funky and kind of fun line that Hermes creates. It's a business initiative where Hermes uses leftover materials and kind of repurposes them to turn them into brand new products that are quite unique. And it's definitely an acquired taste, but I love the idea and the concept behind it. And a lot of the pieces are a lot of fun. They're usually very colorful and very imaginative. So I'm surprised that this is a piece in the core line, not in the Petite H line. And Hermes seems to be really proud of this piece as it's been part of many of their recent campaigns. I've seen it even in store windows. So I guess it's a new thing that Hermes is loving right now. I don't know, personally it definitely reminds me of the movie Godfather just because of the horse head. Obviously it has nothing to do with the movie. It was purely inspired by Hermes' love for horses and their equestrian heritage. It's playful, it's funky, it's almost childish to me. And yeah, I mean, it features the clou de salle closure or the clou de salle button as the eye for the horse, which is one of the motifs that Hermes uses in pretty much every single one of their equestrian pieces. And it's actually the logo in their equestrian designs. It's not something that's going to make its way into my cart, especially for the price, because it's $890 or 705 euros. For me, it's not worth the price, but if you're looking for a new SLG that's quite out there, then perhaps you want to look into this. And this was really the only one SLG that I felt was worth mentioning, so let's move on to bags. Now, the first bag that we have here to talk about is actually one that launched a few months ago. And when this first launched, I talked about this in a What's New from Hermes video. But Hermes seems to be loving this bag, and they keep coming out with new reiterated versions of it, which this bag doesn't really do anything for me, and I have no idea why they would bring it back. Because the bag that we're talking about is the Trim Duo bag, which is a design that's available in two different sizes, in 24 and 31. And this bag was actually originally introduced in 1958. And to me, this bag is really reminiscent of the bags that you saw in the late 1990s and early 2000s. It's that very typical hobo-shaped bag. And I actually mentioned in a previous video that I feel this is the kind of bag that someone like Frankie from the show Grace and Frankie would wear. It's very bohemian, it's very relaxed, it's laid back. But I don't see why anyone would want to go to Hermes to buy this brand new when you could go to, I think, any vintage store and find 20 different bags similar to this. But in case you love the Trim Duo bag and you have no idea why I'm not a fan, well, the good news is that it has recently just launched in a version that is covered in fringe. So there are two versions of this bag. There is one that's made of suede and it has fringe hanging out of it. And then there's another one that has, just to make it a little bit more special, it has a rainbow of different colored leather fringe just hanging off of the bag, which can be yours right now for $8,000. So yeah, I don't think you can get any more bohemian than that. I have no idea why Hermes is launching this bag now. Maybe I could see a bag like this being worn to a festival or maybe to Coachella. But personally, I don't know anyone who would want to wear this in the fall or the winter. But if you love the Trim Duo bag, now it can be yours for $8,000 with fringe. And if you cannot get enough of the Trim Duo bag, Hermes has also launched a new silk version of it, which features this very interesting hand-woven sort of macrame technique, which is the very first time that Hermes has ever done this on a bag, which I think is a little bit more interesting than the fringe version. It's still not something that I would want to add to my collection, but if you love the Trim Duo bag and if you love silk, well, this might become your new favorite bag. The next bag actually launched from Hermes, I think quite a few months ago at this point, but I have never talked about this. But since we haven't had that many new launches, I thought I would bring this up in case you've been interested in this. And the next bag that we'll be talking about is the Clic H bag. Now this bag is similar to the Trim Duo bag, is available in two different sizes. It comes in size 21 and 33. And if you look at this bag, it's first of all very plain, and it sort of reminds me of something that you would pick up from a flea market or an estate sale. Not something that was designed with the 21st century consumer in mind. It's definitely very vintagey and very old school. And I feel there is a huge difference between being inspired by your heritage and being stuck in the past. And I think that this bag is certainly just something that was brought up from the past. If you went into a vintage store or if you open your grandma's closet, you would most likely see some very, very similar bags to this. The only kind of Hermes motif that you would find on this are these two little sad and deformed H's on the side, which just simply don't do it for me. Hermes is proud of the fact that it's a multifunctional bag, meaning that you can adjust the strap, you can make it longer to make it into a crossbody bag, you can double the strap, just put it under one arm, and you can even remove it in case you cannot contain yourself and you love this bag so much that you need to take it out with you as a clutch bag. I have even heard that there are some major issues with the closure of the bag because it does feature this hidden fastening. So I don't know, this whole entire bag is just really old school. I have no idea what Hermes was thinking to bring this bag out now. And I'm sure I'll get a few comments that will say, oh, you know, not everyone wants a piece with a big H on it. Not everyone wants a Birkin or a Kelly. Some people prefer more subtle bags. Well, this bag is not subtle. This is just plain boring and old school. So I don't think anyone should spend their money on this. If you are looking for something that is similar to this in shape and in feel, just go to a vintage store. On a more positive note, let's talk about a bag that I'm actually really excited about. Hermes seem to have confirmed the fact that they are relaunching their monochromatic designs. A long time ago, almost 10 years ago, Hermes had a collection called the So Black collection, which sort of became this phenomena. It became an iconic collection, which was designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier for Hermes when he was leading their creative direction, where the color of the bag was black, and the hardware was in a matching black finish. Now, there were some rumors that this collection had to be discontinued shortly after it launched because the technology that Hermes used at the time wasn't refined enough to make the hardware long-lasting, and the metal finish would chip, and Hermes had no way of repairing it. But it seems like that after many, many, many years of teasing us and rumors of this collection coming back, it is actually confirmed that it will be happening in the very near future, as Hermes featured this Kelly Depeche bag in actually a blue color, not in black, in one of their recent campaigns. And I'm personally really excited about this because, first of all, I love the Kelly Depeche bag. I have a video on it. And this, I think, is the typical example of Hermes taking a piece from their archives that they were really proud of, and they obviously was a very popular piece, but kind of redesigning it and updating the lines and the design features and elements to make it a little bit more contemporary. And I think they did an incredible job. So based on this picture, the Kelly Depeche will be available in, I guess, a soap blue version, meaning that the color of the bag as well as the hardware will be the same color, in this case blue. But I do think it will also be available with black hardware, so we don't have to give up on the So Black collection just yet. But this is really the first official picture that we have seen from Hermes where they are sort of confirming the relaunch of the So Black collection, which I'm personally really excited about. And as soon as I have more information on this, I'll be sure to keep you posted. And last but not least, let's talk about a bag that I think this might be one of the bags that I get the most questions on. Believe it or not, I probably get about 2 to 3 DMs a week from my male viewers asking me about this bag, which is perfectly understandable. And the bag that I want to share my thoughts on is the HAC. Now, the HAC is a bag that a lot of people call the travel Birkin, which is quite incorrect considering that the HAC dates back to way before the Birkin or the Kelly. It's actually the ancestor of both of those bags, and without this bag we would have no beloved Birkins or Kellys in the Hermes portfolio. This bag was one of the very first creations of Hermes, and it was originally created to help equestrians and horse riders basically carry all their essentials in one bag. So this was made to carry riding boots and saddles and all the different things that you need for horse riding. And quite honestly, the overall design and the structure, the durability, and even the hardware really haven't changed that much. And it's quite interesting because I get this question from a lot of male Hermes clients asking me whether I would recommend this bag. Do I think it's a great bag to be worn on a daily basis? And my answer is always the same. It's probably not going to work out for you unless you're really, really tall or you need a lot of stuff to carry, because these bags are just so incredibly overwhelming that I don't think a lot of people would be able to take advantage of this, especially not on a regular basis. I know a lot of people like to buy this as a travel bag, but in my humble opinion, it's not even a great and functional bag for traveling for a couple of reasons. Number one, it doesn't feature a shoulder strap, and really the only way for you to carry this is just by holding the handles. There's really no way for you to add a shoulder strap to it because the bag is quite heavy. So whatever creative way you come up with to add a shoulder strap onto it, it's either going to damage the leather or it's not going to hold the bag, and your bag is just going to fall when you put it over your shoulders. And another thing is that you really cannot put this over a suitcase because the handles are, first of all, too short to go over a handle of a suitcase, and you wouldn't really be able to even bend the top of the bag so you can put the handles over the handle of your suitcase, so it's kind of sitting there securely. So unless you don't carry your own bags and you don't have to worry about that, maybe you want to have a look at it, but I don't think that it's as functional as a lot of people believe it to be. Maybe it can be good for a road trip where space is an issue and you want a soft bag to just kind of shove into the back of your car. Maybe I can see that being useful for that, but it's definitely not a bag that's practical for flying. And not to mention the fact that it quickly becomes a bottomless pit because the shape is quite elongated and deep, so there is really not much you can do to organize it. So personally, I'm not a big advocate of the HAC. And I feel a lot of male Hermes clients are made feel that they should automatically go for the biggest bags. And the biggest bag is obviously the HAC, or after that, the Birkin 40. And a lot of male clients just feel that they should automatically go for the biggest bags if they like the look of the Birkin or Kelly. Whereas in a lot of cases, I think they would be much better off buying, let's say, a Birkin 35 or maybe even a Birkin 40, not an HAC. It just really depends on your frame, the way you style it. Just because a bag is larger, it doesn't make it any more masculine looking, which I think is quite an outdated perception in the 21st century anyway. But I think you should wear whatever you like. You shouldn't just go for the largest bag, which I think a lot of people do with the HAC. So I don't think it's a bag that a lot of people would be able to take advantage of unless you're going to use it as a duffel bag to take to maybe a workout, or if you're going to charter a plane and you don't care about having to carry this and putting this in the overhead bin. Then you might enjoy it, but I don't think a lot of people would be able to take advantage of it. So I would always recommend that you go try an HAC. In most stores, it's not considered a quota bag, so you can easily just try it on. In a lot of cases, it's even on display. You can walk around with it in the store. It's not one of those things that's kind of a hidden thing where it has to be offered to you in a private room. So go have a look at it, play around with it if it's something that you've been thinking about picking up. But I do think in general, most consumers would be much better off buying a Birkin 40 or maybe even a Birkin 35. But in case you love the HAC, it comes in a couple of different sizes. It comes in size 40, size 50. There was a time that it was also available in size 60, which as you can imagine was huge. And then I think at one point Hermes also tried to introduce it and make it into a more personal bag in size 32, which was a huge fail. It just looked really awkward because the bag was super long but really narrow. So yeah, overall, as you guys can tell, I'm not a big fan of the HAC. It's heavy, it's impractical, it's overwhelming on most people. But if you enjoy it, then thankfully Hermes is coming out with 2 new versions of it. There is a cargo version launching of the HAC, which was obviously inspired by the cargo Birkin, which launched, I think, for spring-summer 2020. If I remember correctly, it was supposed to launch for spring-summer 2020. And there is also this sort of Western-inspired HAC with an embroidery on the front, which is quite special. So in case you love the HAC, or you collect HACs, or you find them to be a great addition to your collection, you should keep an eye out on those. And if you're someone who owns an HAC and you use it on a regular basis, then please let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I love the idea. It sounds very chic to just roll up to the airport with your HAC and travel with it. But I never reached for my HAC, and at the end of the day, I know that I never would over a larger Birkin because it's just way too overwhelming for me. And this is it, guys. This completes my video on some new launches that we can expect to see from Hermes. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know if there are any pieces in this video that you're excited to see and check out in store. Is there anything else that you're waiting to see from Hermes? I would love to have a conversation about that. And if you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.